You've had this great, I saw this video, I was watching it this morning about how either you changed your mind on abortion or maybe you began to realize why you were pro-life. I wasn't sure which, but.
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Because I've always been on the side of abortion is wrong, right? Like, it's just wrong. And I think that it was maybe it's just again, like Catholic upbringing. It's like, like contraception is wrong and abortion is wrong, so you don't do it. Like that, and that's
again,
you grow
not
up,
the reason,
right? Not the reason. It's just kind of what you're taught. So it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I believe that. Sure, yeah, life is precious from cradle to the grave. Awesome, but I didn't go into the why. And then when I started to explore the why, then it made sense, right? So I was always like, oh, I would never have an abortion because this is in the past. I would never have an abortion because it's wrong. But if another woman did it, I wouldn't, whatever, it's her business, her body, her choice. That was really my position for a long time. And I just, again, you start to learn the why. Why is it wrong? Why do you feel that way? Like, what's really the truth behind that? And for me, it's again, kind of coming back to, what do you believe about life, right? That life begins at conception. And everything that I understand about science, because as a personal trainer and as a fitness professional, I've studied anatomy. That's what I studied. I studied kinesiology, I studied anatomy, I studied physiology. I studied the endocrine system because I just wanted to know how to help my clients in the best way, right? And so here I am faced with all of this science that I know, and I know that life begins at conception. It just does, right? So at that point, it was just like, wow. We advocate for so much with abortion being healthcare, but there's also, now this is where my experience as a Black woman comes in. When I started to learn about the seedy history behind Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger and what her actual ideals were in presenting it to the Black community, how she did that, I was like, how can I support?
Spell that out a little bit for those who are watching who may not be unaware. You don't have to be an expert on it, but what are you referring to?
Well, it's interesting because they denied it for a long time. Planned Parenthood denied Margaret Sanger's past as a eugenicist, right? And I think during the pandemic, because this did not make the news as much as it should have, but the New York location in specific had her name on the outside of Planned Parenthood. They removed it because of her past. Like they could not hide it, right? So they had to remove it. So it tells you a lot about what she was really all about. She was a eugenicist. She, they were about exterminating Black people or people that were disabled, people that were just not the shiny examples of passing on their genes for humanity. So she used Black leaders. She went into the churches, she went into communities to really push this message forward that, hey, this is healthcare. You live in poverty, this, that, the other. Like, you should probably think about this as women's healthcare. You don't want to bring children into this world that you can't take care of, right? So then when you look at the numbers and what that did years later, why are Black women the leading number of abortions when it comes to these procedures in the nation, right? And a lot of it there are so many factors. There's so many factors and layers to that we can to unpack all of that right now. It'd be like another, show, right? But the gist of it being that, how can I support a movement which at the seed of it, at the heart of it, was about exterminating people that look like me and my offspring? Like, I can't do that. Like, that's just insane, right? And then to start noticing that when you go into the cases of rape and incest, because that's the one thing that people say, well, the rape and incest, right? Well, I mean, it's such a minuscule part of abortions in general, right? That it doesn't count for the whole others that are having these procedures done and they're not falling into that category. And if you want to say that contraception is failing, then why don't we have a class action lawsuit against these, condom companies, these birth control companies, So it just started to think, I started to think this just does not make sense. It doesn't. And so I err on the side of just saying I can't straddle the fence with this. It's either you're either one or the other. There's no way you can straddle the fence. And that's kind of where I stand with it, Yeah, I feel like we should say, even though it goes without saying, that if you're somebody who's watching right now and you've had an abortion, my beautiful sister, there is forgiveness, there is mercy. You aren't the stupid things you've done. You aren't the sins you've committed.
it's like we've been raised in this society that has lied to us ever since we were young. You know, me personally, since I was 8, I was lied to by pornography, right? That's when I first stumbled upon it. Here's what sex is. Here's what women are. Here's what women are for. Here's what marriage ought to be. And it's something similar where you've got all these movies and TV shows and big tech lying to you about abortion. I mean, you were raised in this. And so in some ways, like, I know we have personal agency. I know we have to take responsibility for the bad things that we've done or have paid other people to do to us. But in some ways, we are a victim in this, right?
Amen. Absolutely.
I mean, so like, run to confession, you beautiful daughter. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, especially for today's culture, you know, any one of us who's born after the sexual revolution, stuff like that. I mean, we were taught so many things, like crazy. Like when I was coming up as a dancer in the ballet world and stuff, and even in the acting world in a way, but I really felt this pressure in the dance world. Our teachers, as talented and amazing and legendary as many of them are and were, I mean, I remember there just kind of being this silent thing, like, you don't settle down and have kids and get married if you think you're a serious artist. Like your whole life, your body, everything is like for the dance. It's for the art, you know? And I fell victim to that. Like really thinking that like I had to make a choice. It's like, if I'm going to be a serious artist, if I'm going to try to get into these companies, I'm going to try to do the things that I want to do, I'm going to have to forego that life for the art because I want to be taken seriously. We were all lied to in that way. You know, and I think that our culture in general, they do that with women in all aspects. You don't even have to be an artist. You know, it's like, oh, you get your education, go to school, go for your career. You can do all that stuff later. You know, nobody's telling you that, you know, them eggs, honey, time waits for no man or woman. You know what I mean? So I think that women get put in this position where it's like, okay, I have these dreams, I have these goals. I don't have a way of necessarily supporting myself and a child, or this is bad timing. So the only thing to do that makes logical sense is to terminate the pregnancy, because that's what society told me to do, like to put it off and wait.
Because you're lied to on both accounts. You're told you won't be taken seriously unless you dedicate your entire life to this.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you're told, and it's essentially, you know, marriage is essentially a misogynistic institution, and you'll end up being a kitchen slave if you went down this route, and no one will respect you, and who would want to be a stay-at-home mom anyway?
Right.
That's why I have such respect and admiration for women who are like, I'm a homemaker. Beautiful. It's wonderful.
And it's interesting because when
to
I
reclaim that, you know, that beauty of that.
And I meet women of all walks and stuff, and when I have women who talk about being, you know, I'm just a stay-at-home mom, I'm like, no, you're not just, like, you are a homemaker. That is amazing, like, and you should be proud of that. It's
I think it was
Chesterton.
We've quoted him before, where he says something.
The quote.
You know it. You can look it up.
I know it.
Do it. Go.
It's feminism is mixed up with the idea that a woman is free when she serves her employer, but a slave when she serves her husband.
Yep, that's it. Amen.
That's the one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Okay,
And then I know Anthony Estlund talks about, you know, scraping plaque off someone's teeth in a dentist office. Like somehow that's liberating. But if you're at home tending to your children.
Never heard that one.
Anthony Estlund's the boss. Have you ever read him?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he's unreal. I don't think he can travel anymore, so I think we have to go to him. He's a Catholic intellectual. He wrote a book called Out of the Ashes, which I would recommend everyone read. Yeah,
I don't know. That sounds familiar, but I have not read it. Yeah.
I was trying to find the quote, and the first thing that came up was that book. So
what? Out of the Ashes, or
yeah.
So re-educating ourselves, man, it's hard when you're being lied to constantly.
Well, yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching that clip. Would you like this beautiful, very high quality, definitely not made in China, not that there's anything wrong with that, pints with a quite